What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and today I'm going to review and rank Janis Joplin's studio albums in the order of my favorite, from least favorite to most favorite. I'm just doing the four she did in her lifetime. I guess one was released posthumously, posthumous. I always want to say posthumously. The two she did with Big Brother and the Holding Company, then the solo did, and then Pearl was released, she died while she was recording there. It was the last thing she recorded. I think she actually passed away before it was recorded, right? And then it was released after she passed away. So those four albums. How do we get to Janis Joplin from Frank Zappa? Well, we have to take care of Janis when she gets so depressed and she can't take it no more. And we can laugh at Keith Moon's jokes, but that's a whole other video. So we're turning again lyrics. I know for sure there's a Janis reference in there. I'm now currently trying to focus on We're Turning Again. I was like, oh, I got the Doors out of the way. I got Jimi Hendrix out of the way. I'm like, oh no, I still got like 5 or 6 more artists that are specifically mentioned, if not inferred, implied, I inferred from the implication. Yeah, so anyways, that's it, Janis Joplin. Yeah, I like Janis Joplin. The kid could sing. So anyways, this is my opinion of those. And she, yeah, if you don't know Janis Joplin, well, you crazy? She can sing. She died at 27, way too young. She had a voice just like a hurricane, right? I mean, she could do it all. That was power in that voice. A Texan too, right? She was born here in Port Arthur, Texas. All right, we got a Texan on the channel. I'm not a Texan, I'm from California, but I live in Texas. So anyways, on to the first album, on to number 4. Let's do it. Let's not waste no more time. My number 4 is her first debut solo album, her third album overall. I Got Dem Old Cosmic Blues Again, Mama. This came out in 1969 on September 11th. She had broken from the Big Brother Holding Company, which I think doesn't get the props. Maybe they do. Cheap Thrills probably gets the props. But I like them as a band. I think they are garage psych is what I would call them. Like, we're definitely in like this, we sound like a 60s band, but we definitely have a garage rock element. We definitely got some psych San Francisco West Coast element going on there. But to me, Big Brother and the Holding Company had this really raw garage sound that really worked, that I thought Janis fit in perfectly with. For this album, she got a new band. I think it was called the Cosmic Blues Band, right, if I'm not mistaken. The Cosmic Blues Band. There was like a brass section, a horn section, and it had a little more of an R&B soul vibe, which isn't to say that she can't sing like crazy in any genre, but I think part of the real attraction for me of her other albums is how well integrated she feels like into the music and into the band. And this really feels like, I saw, before he passed away, Solomon Burke at Bonnaroo one year. And I got there like 10 minutes early, right? And there's this huge purple throne on the stage, this giant purple throne. The band comes out, it's like 105 degrees. The band is dressed to the nines. They look fantastic. But the band comes out, they start playing some music. They got a horn section. They got a really tight, funky band. But then they kind of set up the mood. And then Solomon comes out, sits down and sings a bunch of songs. And then he's done, right? Great show. Solomon had a great voice. But that's the way I kind of feel about this album, is that it's Janis in front of a band that's supposed to make her look good. And it's not that Janis is in the band or part of the band, or that she was in the garage rehearsing with the band. It's like the band learned the songs and Janis learned the songs with the band, then they recorded the album. It's just lacking some sort of rough-edged spark that, like, to me is like the epitome. It's like, ironically, right? Her next album is called Pearl. It almost seems like they tried to make a Pearl out of Janis on this album, and you can't make a Pearl out of this. Like, Janis is not meant to be smooth and shiny and polished. Janis is meant to be rough and emotional and gut-wrenching. And so I think this album just kind of drops the mark. There's a couple good songs on it. I think there's only a couple like Janis originals, one of which is the best. I think the title track, Cosmic Blues, maybe has the best energy. Like, none of the songs are bad, but I do think there's just this kind of like artifice about the whole thing that just doesn't work. And it's really just Janis stepping up and singing well and doing what Janis does. Sometimes the material connects, sometimes it doesn't. It's got some good energy, but for the most part, it's the one album that kind of just doesn't do it for me out of her 4 albums. But that's my number 4. I got them all Cosmic Blues again. And again, if you like her other, if you have not discovered Janis and you do start with number 1, by the time you get to this, you're probably going to enjoy it. It's not a bad album. Like, it's my least favorite because I think it's the least Janis of the 4 albums. So it's not a bad album. It's just my number 4. And it is kind of stale, maybe. I don't know. All right, on to number 3. My number 3 is their debut album, Big Brother and the Holding Company. This is the first of 2 Janis would do with the band. This is the band's debut. It's Janis's debut. And I think when the album originally came out, I think it was just called Big Brother and the Holding Company. And then right after they released it, or shortly before they released it, but after they recorded it, they had their Monterey Pop Festival sort of performance. And then I think they went back and sort of, it was then Janis Joplin in Big Brother and the Holding Company. So the world realized, like, okay, this is a special singer right here. I like this album a lot. I think it sounds very much, when did it come out? Like 66, 67? 67. It very much sounds like a band that would come up in the summer of love in 67. It's got a West Coast psych rock vibe to it. Times very Jefferson Airplane-ish, but it has a very garage psych 67 rock. Like, this is the kind of band, like, you would maybe go to the West Coast to see a bunch of bands, and this band would be playing that bar and everybody would be sweating it. It would be heavy. It'd be rocking. There'd be some fantastic guitar parts. It would just be a little bit of a rawer show than maybe some of the other psych rock shows. 3 fantastic songs on here, but I don't think there are any bad songs on here. At its worst, this album is maybe slightly generic, like psych rock from this era, but I don't think any of it's bad. And actually, there's 3 songs which I think are pretty fantastic. Opens up with Bye Bye Baby, which I think is one of the better songs on here. It's definitely not as aggressive as some of Janis's later stuff, but we're getting a little bit more of that. You get some attitude right off the bat. We're kind of getting into that. Easy Rider's okay. Intruder, a Janis Joplin song's pretty okay. Light is Faster Than Sound, Call on Me. But then we have the single, which was not on the original release, but then they later added it on when they became like a thing. Cuckoo, which is a really good song, probably maybe the best song on here. It was a single, probably should have been a bigger hit than the one that was a hit. Maybe not. The one that was a hit is pretty good. But Cuckoo's just a really good song. It has a really kind of darker 60s psych vibe, really strong, good. Could have been on like a Nuggets release or something like that. Women is Losers, which is an interesting song. Blind Man, The Fantastic Down on Me, which was a single, dropping in the middle of side 2. Caterpillar, which is kind of a weird little song that one of the other members of the band sings. I think Albin sings it, the bass guitar player. But I will give a credit out. The 2 guitar players on here, Sam Andrew and James Gurley, they got some pretty good stuff on here. They got some nice little licks, and then they would kind of double down on that on the second album and go even further out there. All Is Loneliness, and then they also had a single with the song The Last Time, which is also kind of a pretty good song. So definitely would not rank up this with any of like the top 20, 30, maybe not even, there's maybe not that many good psych rock albums. Yeah, there were. I mean, it's maybe not even top 25 of like the all-time psych rock albums of like this era, but I think it's a pretty good album. I think it's passable. Janis, you can recognize the talent in Janis, and I do think the band has a raw energy that I enjoy. But yeah, that would be my number 3, Big Brother and the Holding Company, their and her debut album. My number two is her 4th and final album, the one that she passed away during the recording of, or shortly after the recording of. It was during the recording of, because there was a song on the album, literally, that she never got around to finishing. But it is Pearl. It is the album that kind of gave her nickname. This is kind of a perfect album. Like, my ranking this 2 as opposed to 1 comes to musical preferences and If you don't know what number 1 is and you find out, you'll clearly understand why I choose 1 over 2. But this is like almost a perfect album. I think it's perfectly sequenced. It's just, it's got a little bit of everything that Janis does. It is a much better attempt to do what they failed to do in I Got Them Old Cosmic Blues Again, Mama. And it really is her in front of a band, only the band is a little looser, jazzier, maybe like country, jazz, Americana, rock type weird mix of whatever, just kind of inventing their own genre here a little bit. And the songs are just fantastic. And it definitely helps that we got Bobby Womack writing a song, and then we got Chris Christopherson writing a song. It's just from start to finish, just a really, really good album. And knowing what I know about the album and knowing what I know about the songs on the album, there's a couple moments that I think have just incredible emotional just impact when you know that her life was short-lived, that she passed away shortly after after recording this, but actually while recording it. But anyways, it starts up with Move Over, which is just this awesome little, let's immediately get down and groove and get a little bit heavy, but a little bit funky, and just let Janis sing. Just don't, baby. Just a really good groove. Like awesome album opener, just all around incredible song, Move Over. Just, it kind of has it has, for some reason, I used to think this was Jefferson Airplane back in the day. They used to play this song on the radio quite a bit, and I just thought it was like, for some reason I thought it was Grace Slick just doing a baby. Eventually learned it was Janis, but just a great little song. Cry Baby, absolutely showstopper. There is a version of her singing Cry Baby in that Festival Express movie that is just like one of the all-time great performances of all time. Like the way she sings Cry Baby, just magical. A Woman Left Lonely, another song that is really good energy. Half Moon, kind of a little whimsical type of a song, but it's still got really, really fantastic energy. Buried Alive in the Blues closes out side A, and it's an instrumental. And the reason it's an instrumental is because they laid down sort of the basic tracks, and then before Janis could go back and put her vocals over it, she had passed away. And every time I sit down and listen to the album, when the song starts, I'm always like, maybe this should have been the last song on the album, right? Like you end with this like empty song. It's like, oh, we got the empty chair here. It's like Rent. That's actually why I changed my mind on it. You have this empty spot at the end. You should just like, we can feel her absence more, and then the album ends. But that's kind of way too depressing. And so this kind of reminds me of what they do in that musical Rent, where when the second act starts off, or there's a moment in the second act kind of early when one of the characters passes away, and they have this sort of chorus line, but it's a singing line. It's not a chorus dancer line, but there's an empty slot in it all of a sudden where that character used to be. To give away, sorry, spoiler alert. And that's kind of what this is. In the middle of the album, we have this instrumental where that empty slot is where Janis should be. And I think the song is just kind of a whimsical throwaway thing. I think like they maybe added solos in and just flesh it out. But it's like, every time it's over, I'm just like, damn, that's just a loss. That's just a loss, right? I don't know. It just affects me knowing that that's why it's an instrumental. Side 2 opens up with My Baby, which is just a fantastic song. She just sings her butt off on this one. Absolutely love that song. Then we get, kind of reminds me, this song, I want to compare Janis Joplin to, I'm talking way too long for this album. Bobby Gentry, who did Ode to Billy Joe, which is pretty much the only song I know Bobby Gentry did, but she should be remembered forever because of Ode to Billy Joe. That's such an amazing song. That's the way I feel about me and Bobby McGee. If like Janis had only had a one hit and this was it, the only thing we ever knew about Janis was this one song and maybe some weird studio recording in London where she's performing it. Yeah, she would still be iconic in the way I think Bobby Gentry is, just because me and Bobby McGee is just everything about this song. The opening lines, the sort of build-up rave up at the end. There's a part right before the music starts to amp up where she's just kind of scat singing, and she's like, Bobby McGee, and she's just like going off, man. There's no words. Every once in a while she'll drop in like a Bobby or a McGee or something like that, but it is just, it is an artist in like full flight with her powers. And it is just occurs right in the middle. And then it's almost like the music has to respond to that. So that's when the tempo kind of upticks and we kind of get a little more energy towards the end. But what a fantastic song. That's followed by Mercedes Benz, which is a solo a cappella performance by her. She had co-wrote with a couple other people. And it's the last thing she recorded. And I don't know if there were like plans to flesh it out and give it music or what it was. I think there was a later release where they added some like percussion or something on it, which is not needed. But it's her literally just singing this, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends all drive Porsches." It's just this great little song. Then he buy me a television. Then it's like buy me a night out on the town, which I'm like, something very tragic about that line. Like, hey man, maybe not too much the night on the towns. But that's the song, just like these three verses, a repeat of the Mercedes-Benz verse. And then at the end, and I think she's keeping maybe tempo herself, like she's tapping out the rhythm herself. But at the end, she just goes, "Oh, that's it. That's all there is," or something along those lines. Of like, we're done. And just knowing that was the last thing she ever recorded, and she wraps it up with that little, "Up, that's it. We're done. That's all there is." And knowing that, like, I don't know, everything about the song, just like it affects me, and it's short, but it's just like the charisma in her voice and just everything about her. Like she was just tapping, like she had just, this album and the one that's going to be next on this list, she had just discovered the mother lode. Like she had yet to mine it. She just said, we had discovered it was there. And like we have 3, 4, maybe 5 more fantastic albums coming. And who knows, with music evolving as it did in the next 5 or 6 years, what was going to come out of this woman. Then we get the Bobby Womack penned "Trust Me," and then we close out with the fantastic "Get It While You Can." Just a really, really strong, awesome, near perfect album. My number 2, Pearl. And my number 1 Janis Joplin album is a Big Brother and the Holding Company album also, and that is their second studio album, Cheap Thrills. Came out in 1968, 7 songs, not a bad one on here. And I would argue that this is also maybe top 10. I think I'd argue for it in the top 10 of like late second half of the 60s psych rock albums. I just think this is an absolute psych rock joy. It's a masterpiece. It's garage psych rock. I think this is a very raw band, but I think there are guitar moments on here that are fantastic. There are jams on here that are absolutely fantastic. And I think this is the absolute best use of Janis Joplin ever, having her in a band, that she's in the band, like she's in Big Brother and the Holding Company. It's not Janis Joplin fronts Big Brother and the Holding Company. It's like she is in this band. And I think that's what makes this work. And I also think that's what makes that debut one work better than her first official solo album. It's just that, like, having the other singer to contrast with, having her not be the main focus, so that when she is the main focus, she can just like devastate the landscape. I mean, listen to her sing, man. You can feel the vocal cords just shredding themselves. Like, she probably wasn't going to last very long because of the stuff she did to her vocal cords, just on a singing level. Forget the other stuff she may have ingested into her body. But anyways, a fantastic album. Opens up with Combination of the Two, song I have always loved, but then I asked it to marry me again after I saw it in Terry Gilliam's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He uses that opening drow as they start driving across the desert. Raul and Gonzo, Dr. Gonzo. And it's just, this is a great song. Like, you get off this absolute screaming guitar noise, just full on attack. The first singer who comes in is not Janis. She's kind of almost like, it's almost like a duet on here, and she's like the second singer. I don't even know who is singing. I think, is Albin singing vocals on this? No, Sam Andrews singing vocals on this. And it is just this really full-on attack, some great guitar solos in here, some great energy, some great group dynamics. Janis coming in, like, I guess in maybe the pre-chorus or something. Like she's just like rocking or tearing. Like it's just like we've unleashed the bulldog and she's just gonna tear up the scenery until we like chain her back up again. Like it is just a ferocious vocal performance. I Need a Man to Love, another ferocious performance that has this absolute awesome sort of guitar solo psych jam in the middle of it that is just like, yeah, man, Big Brother and the Holding Company do not get the love they deserve. Summertime, which apparently, I guess the story goes, when Gershwin heard this, Ira, I think it was, when he heard this, I think he was like, well, I'm going to stop writing music if this is what the kids are doing to my tunes. And I'm like, you're kind of an idiot, dude, because this is like fantastic. This is everything you need in a song. Yeah, I don't understand that. But Summertime is absolutely perfect. Piece of My Heart, great hit song. Just the way the guitar attack just comes in. No. We almost like, it's almost like, wait, did we start in the middle of the song? What's going on? But you're immediately brought into this. And then we're just like, we kind of build up and then we let it down and we build it back up. And Janis comes in and attacks and didn't make me feel good whenever she starts singing. Oh, fantastic. Side 2 opens up a little piano-driven Turtle Blues, which is really nice. Right, it's piano and a little bit of acoustic guitar on there. Really nice, just sort of straightforward blues song. Don't mess with Joplin on this one. She wrote this, and she is not someone to be messed with. Oh Sweet Mary, another just absolutely fantastic song. That's an original song. And then the absolute just destroy the landscape from a rock perspective, just guitar crazy, just full on attack. Everybody, Janis is attacking. We get Ball and Chain, which is just this 9-minute epic. Most of this album has like fake audience noise kind of piped in to give it the feel of like a live album, which in a way works because there's a rawness to their sound that if you do think it's a live album, you're like, oh yeah, it's live. It's why it's a little bit raw. I don't think the production on this is perfect, but I almost kind of wish it wasn't there because I don't really think you need the live stuff. I think it works without it. But either way, it's here and there. But I think Ball and Chain is the actual only live track on this album. And I think it actually is a live track from the Winterland Ballroom, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just, I think the best part about it is it just starts off with full-on guitar attack. And they're just making noise. And then when we get to Janis's vocals, Janis is just like, hey man, I'm bringing you back down here with me. I don't need to shout. I don't need to show off. I'm good enough to just sing on my own and deliver like this. And then when I need to raise the volume and go crazy, I will, but I'm going to save that for the second half of the song. And it's just a perfect meld of the raw garage psych aesthetic of Big Brother and the Holding Company and the absolute power and control. And like, yeah, she seems like she's out of control most of the time, but songs like this and albums like this, you're like, oh no, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. Yeah, it's a great album. One of the 60s best, if you ask me. Cheap Thrills, Big Brother and the Holding Company. My number one Janis Joplin album. That's all I got. For those of you with short memory, that is what the 4 albums look like in writing. Yeah, Janis. We got to take care of Janis when she gets so depressed she just can't take it no more. Those were some rough times. And the world lost a gifted, truly gifted artist back in 70 when she passed away, right? Age of 27, one of the original members of the 27 Club. October 4th, so about a month ago. Just a month ago, pretty much. A little over a month ago. Yeah, that's sad. All right. Anyways, well, that's all I got. Let me know your favorite Janis albums, your thoughts on Big Brother and the Holding Company, man, your thoughts on 60s psych music in general, your thoughts on Zappa's lyrics to We're Turning Again. I still got to do like Keith Moon, Donovan. All right, it's going to be interesting listens. But all right, not Keith Moon. I'm going to do The Who, but that's easy. Anyways, except for that new one. All right, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts on Janis Joplin. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.